Actually, that should be black. So the first principle is mentalism. Okay. Now, so mentalism is simply the thought. In the existence, the beginning. Right? Everything starts with a thought. Okay. Now, from that thought, right, you go with correspondence. The correspondence, let's see if we can fit this on here, right? Okay. So look, right? Now, mentalism, we're going to make this all really simple, right? This is thoughts. Because thoughts create reality. Because your reality is based on the way that you perceive things to be. Now, correspondence, that is, you're going to feel internally. Yeah, it's too big, right? Oh, wait a minute. Nah, I had a rule too. My bad, I gotta do this right. Alright, so we'll leave that on there and delete this part. So let's change the color. Right. Go to light blue. Light blue will be correspondence, okay? Because that's a higher frequency of water, right? Current, the movement. Right? So correspondence, shit, that's blurry as fuck. Hold on, let's make it a little bit tighter. Okay. And this shit is still blurry as fuck. Okay, here, leave that on there. Do it like this. Damn. All right. So, in that case, we'll go to dark green. Bloop. All right, correspondence. Think about it like this, right? Whatever you think, right, is going to begin to create, right? There's going to be a response to your thought. Okay, that's an action taking place. Okay, that's the correspondence. Okay, now, next you have the vibration. Right? Because once there's a correspondence, right, Why is that behind that? Oh shit, I've been doing this on the wrong layer. All right, let me see something here. Just get, just give me this section. Sorry, my bad. Hold on 1 second. This and page assist. This one, duplicate. Go to the first page. This one, and we're going to erase all this. Did it too big. All right, there we go. And then on this page, we're gonna get rid of this. And that's that. Boop. All right, so, my bad, I had to organize things a little bit. You know, sometimes you gotta do that. Sometimes you gotta put things in order. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot one thing to get rid of. Hold the fuck up. Where'd that page go? Alright, never mind. We're good. Get rid of this. And we're going to take this page and put it up here so that it's the most visible. Pink. Alright, now we should be able to see everything correctly. So let's change this. Boop. Yeah. Alright, so vibration. Fuck it. Vibration. Once you have correspondence, you then create the energy necessary to enact it. Right? Right? That's when you're getting prepared to speak. Right? The polarity. Right? Right, polarity is once you put it out, you start to bring it back. Right, it starts to go in that loop. Okay, so the thing that you put out is what you start to bring back to you. Like it was the example I made the other day, right? How the universe works, right? This is you, right? Let's say you're mad about something, right? In order for the universe to figure out how you want to be dealt with when you're mad about something, the universe will also send you somebody that's mad about something. And the universe will also send you somebody that's mad about something. And the way, right? And so, see, most people forget that you're dealing with the human, right? This is the human world, right? So when you want something from the universe, you know, make sure you can see that V clearly, right? When you want something from the universe, there's only one thing that the universe really knows to send to you to figure out what it is that you want done, right? So that you can be happy again, right? Right? And the only way for it to do that is to send something that you can communicate with, right? Now, some of you are bonded to pets, right? So the pet might do something that annoys you to see how you deal with the result of that, to see how the universe deals with the result that you want, right? You command the universe, you just don't even realize it and you don't know how to control it, right? So your polarity is off, right? Because right now, when you get aggravated and somebody comes to you aggravated, what did you do? You probably yelled at them, right? Maybe you disregarded them, right? All of the things, right? People always tell you, you know, do unto others, right? Think about it. They tell you, do unto others as you would do to yourself. There's a reason why they say that. It's just nobody really pays attention to these things, right? Now, you know, the way that this shit works is very specific. It's very specific, and if you recognize the patterns, you'll get the results that you're after. You don't, you know, and I'll show you how it is that, you know, you might have a few things wrong. See, these aren't the 7 Hermetic principles, okay? Because 7 is missing something, right? 7's incomplete, right? See, these are the 9. Okay. Sorry. I know you guys aren't used to that type of spelling, but you should spell what you're saying. Okay? Spell what you're saying, not what you're told to say, or not what you're told to spell what you're saying. Spell what you're saying. You don't say principles. All right? Let me show you something real quick, right? This is spelling, right? Spellcasting, right? Principles. Prince. I pull. All right? That's what you're actually saying. The prince I pull. Okay? That's what this is saying. That's a statement. Okay? Who's the prince? The son of the father. You get with it? You right? Call on the spirit and all that, you know. The prince I pull. Or print prince I pull, right? The I of, right? Because it's all, every principles are what? What's right. What's just. Right? You get me? The things that you say are not the things that you say. Her. Medic. Right? Her. Female. It's the energy. I mean, not the energy. That would be the cause and the effect. Her is the transference. The growth, the development, right? Medic is, you know, medicine. The application, the one that applies the medicine. right? The thing that fixes. Hermetic. See, it's male and female. Hermetic, prince I pull, right? So, right, these are codes, right? Your brain, the her. Cerebellum controls the emotional response. Amygdala controls the emotional response as far as the oils that get created, right? These are your hormonal responses to the emotions. Amy and Sarah, the two females, the hers, okay? The prince, that's you. You're the prince. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female, you're the prince, okay? Because it's the sun, right? Okay? So you're the prince. So the prince eye that you pull that fixes your energy. Right? What is the prince? The print. The blueprint. Why do you think it's called the blueprint? Because the blue, the current, the flow, the energy. You understand? So many spells get spoken that people don't pay attention to, right? The peephole, the eye, doesn't pay Aten's sun. The eye doesn't receive the light. Do you get what I'm saying to you? That's why your light bulb never gets ignited anymore. Right? You have a light bulb that goes off every time you have a thought, right? Oh. Right? That's kind of hard to do if you haven't paid Aten's sun. Right? Where are you getting your light from? Artificial stuff that's broken. You get me? These are the... All right, so look, right? So now you understand that this stuff is very, very, very much what this whole system runs it off of. So let's continue, because people only have learned about the 7 principles, which is incomplete. There's 9 total. So, from the polarity, right? When you get mad, somebody that's mad comes to you so that the universe knows how to give you the result. If you yell at them, then you go to the person that you would normally go to and you got yelled at or sent away. If you were kind to them and friendly with them, the person that you normally deal with would be friendly and kind to you when they ran into you that day or the next time. That's the polarity, okay? Now, so, see, the polarity creates the rhythm. Right? The rhythm is the new existence. Yeah, we need orange. See, the rhythm itself is... Right? The rhythm itself... Here, let me write that a little more neat. Make it so it's legible, right? It's usually helps when it's more legible. Right? The rhythm, right? The rhythm is the thing that is necessary to bind together. Right? You cannot... That's why it's a universe, right? It's the rhythm that you create, okay? You see, right? The polarity is when you're bringing back the response to you, right? And that's when you deal with the one that is like you, right? And that creates the rhythm that goes to your cause and effect. Right. See, your rhythm Notice, see the way that this is how energy travels. It's never straight unless it's forced to be straight. Okay, that's called structured. Okay, this is free flowing. Okay, so this is how energy really travels. It's never a solid, straight anything. Right. So if you look, you have peaks and valleys. You have causes, right, and you have the effects. Right? The cause of the creation is the spike of the energy. The effect is the product that it's going to create. Right? It's the vibration of itself. This is the individual portion of the universe, because this is the part where you have specifically created something on your own. Right? Now, the cause and effect of this is going to affect the main part, which is the gender of it. Now, it's not gender like you think. Right? It's not male or female. Right? The gender is physical or emotional, right? Which is both, right? Because the physical will reflect the emotion, right? The gender is high and low. You know, it's the variations of the type of effects that get created off of what you've done. That's where gender comes into play, right? Which gives you the eighth, right? The eighth is one that nobody seems to discuss for some weird reason. The eighth one. See, people avoid this one because of once you understand it, you get that, the things that you do. All right. And let's see if we can get this right. Bink. Ah, damn it. Oh, wait, we can adjust it. All right. The things that you do, the things that you accept, the things that you put out create an infinite loop. All right. It's not as infinite as you would think because it is able to be altered, right? You at the core of it have the ability to alter the way that it goes. But because of the fact that it's rolling right now, right? You've created the product, right? The ninth principle let's make this smaller and put it over here. Do it like this. Now, why is that cutting off like that? And let's go with something a little more visible, right? There we go. Okay, right? So, shit. Put this back up here, go to this layer here, give me this. All right. So, the thing is that the eighth principle is the cycle. It's the infinite. Right? And then the ninth is the infinite, right? That's that loop that you create. That's number 8. Right? That's why that's the infinity. Okay? So the ninth is that red one. is the creation. Right? See, the thing is that once you have created the thought, right, it becomes an infinite loop, right? And because that infinite loop is now in play, it creates that new reality. Now that new reality is running off of that infinite loop. But the thing about that new reality is that new reality can reflect the old reality because it is the old reality that creates it. So it creates a loop of it going back into each other over and over and over and over again in one way, shape, or form. It's unavoidable. That's why, what you consider die and then resurrect. Right? That's why there's nothing new under the sun. See, you're a specific frequency that was created off of a specific scenario that was thought of by a specific person that was put into a specific position that all started from the beginning. Right? So it's a massive loop with a million different variations because each time, right, each time that you come, you absorb a little bit of different energy. Right? Because the idea is the same, but the perspective alters slightly. Just slightly. Just enough so that you're in the next variation. Right? So the people that you see that look like you, right? Because this is how frequency and vibration work. Like people, it's a very simple thing. It's a very, very simple, basic thing. Right? Oop. My bad. Need a new layer. Okay. Frequency. Right? Your frequency is unique. Right? Which is you. And I Q. Which is when you cue something, you're doing what? You're summoning. Okay? So the unique frequency is the frequency of you and others, because each time that you pass through, what you're doing is you're pulling different energies out from the different scenarios that are available, which slightly, right, which will slightly change the way that energy is formed. You might run into some very traumatic shit, right, and spike that shit real high, right? This is how you end up carrying things with you, right? Them spikes and shit, right? Or you might have a really nice, smooth passage, right? Where all you collect is some good energies and everything stays nice and flowing and everything's moving along. It all depends on how you perceive it and how you reflect it around you. Right? The vibration, the cause and effect, the polarity that it puts out, right? See, people look at it ass backwards, right? They've got you looking at everything ass backwards. They've got you looking at it like, let's see, how can I explain this to you the best? Right? Okay, right, in your mind, right? I want you to think about everything we just talked about for a second, right? Let me get rid of some of this shit. All right, I want you to think about this shit for a second, right? In your mind, right? Mental, right? In the mind. You have something that happens in your mind, right? You have an image. Right? Now, the correspondence. You take that image and you start to feel something from it. Right? It starts to reflect. Right? You, depending on what you feel off of it, that creates a specific vibration. right? Because the energy of the feeling has to be expressed. So that's the vibration, right? Now, the polarity is that once you feel it internally, you also feel it externally, right? First, you think that it hurts you, but then you might lose your appetite. Right? So once you've lost your appetite, right, that's now creating a new, what, rhythm. Right? That's now making you, don't you always feel a little off? Right? And so because of that, that might affect how it is that you react to the next similar situation that would be your gender, your masculine versus feminine. You understand? See, somebody's convinced you to look at things from the perspective of good and bad, right? Teaching you that this is all about duality, right? But duality forces there to be good and bad, right? That's the matrix. The matrix is duality, because duality requires you to put things in a box, right? It requires you to separate things. Right? You're not looking at things from the perspective of being the start of it in the first place. You're looking at things from the perspective of the thing that was created. Right? See, that's why in your body there's two perspectives, right? There's two main perspectives in your body, right? You have the heart, you have the mind. But in between those two is your point of view, your judgment. Your judgment controls how you decide the results to the thing that you witness, right? So it's your judgment that divides these two. That's why they fight for it, right? The mind fights for what entertains. The heart fight for what preserves, right? Okay, because the heart's job is to preserve you. The mind's job is to find out what you like, right? But, you know, it's what you like, what you don't like, and how you want things handled and how you want to perceive things. Okay, that's what your mind does. All right, it's the great consumer. All it does is divide the information and present you with scenarios and options. Okay, now what you accept about those scenarios and options and the type of energy that you put into them is what creates the reality that's around you. You can decide to be negative all the time. That's perfectly fine. You're going to find that everybody around you continues to be negative as well. Right? It's because you're welcoming those type of people to you when you're doing that. Right? If you ever wonder why it is that you're always alone, think about how many times that you're surrounded by billions of people that you told yourself that you're alone. Oh, I'm alone standing in a room full of people. Right? Until everybody just really seemed to just disappear, huh? But you don't control reality? Reality works on what you tell it that you want. Right? But we don't pay Aten's son. You don't seek the light, you seek the right? You rather fight everything, right? You better, See the moon down there, right? Right, there's reasons that I put these things together like this, right? You see the growth right there, you see the moon down there, you see the sun up there, right? The right side, the left side, you understand? Like there's little things, right? The little four horses, right? Okay. The four sides of the brain, right? The four horsemen that bring the information. The samurai, right? The one that of discipline that fights desire, right? That stays on the path, right? That understands to sacrifice for the better good, right? You have the phoenix that re-rises, right? So the sun, right? Because the sun's always up and down, or at least that's what you've been told. But the sun actually moves this way. Okay, it moves in an infinite pattern. It has to. The reason that it has to is because you live on a plane damn, why, yo, something's going on with that side of the fucking thing, man. I should be getting on my nerves, right? So you have the sun, which right, goes like this. Okay, that's the way that the sun goes. Oop. It's the way that the sun goes. It's on a set pattern. Right? You can't be on a set pattern if you're spiraling the fuck out of control. This is an amoeba. It's life. It's growth. That's all they're showing you. This isn't really how things fucking operate. They're just claiming it, right? You got the mood. Moon does the same thing. Only it's a little bit higher. It stays higher. It's the most high. Okay? They're both traveling like this, right? And the thing is that it's because of the magnetism. So they travel in this direction, really. So that means that everything is staying, right? Because of magnetism, the earth can't be moving. That's what they don't fucking explain to people. That's the part I don't get about why people don't comprehend it. Because of magnetism, it can't be moving because it holds it still. It's magnetism. Okay? It's locked. It's stationary. It just, what you experience, the growth and the ups and downs and all that type of shit, that's the energy that's being pulled in. Okay? It comes in like a vortex, okay, to the black hole sun, right? That's the, okay? Which ejects everything out. That's where everything comes out from, right? Which the things that come out are what build up from beneath. Okay, this is why the ground comes up. Okay, because it's building it up. It's always constantly growing and expanding. It can't stop. It's magnetic. Okay, so, right, because of this, this creates, right, the polarity creates a specific locking, so to speak. Let me show you what I mean, right? Okay, right. So you gotta recognize that there has to be a negative and a positive, but not like that, right? So your north and your south are slightly off right now, right? Because it would be, because there has to be four. Oops, sorry. North, south, and south, okay? Not north, south, east, west, okay? East and west are these directions in here. Well, the in-betweens. Right? If you look at the old maps and stuff, they all point slightly off. They don't point directly, right? Because the polarities, right? It only allows it to go in specific directions. Okay, so because everything travels like this, right? So you have to realize that because of this, right? So the center point is going to be the coldest, right? The reason that the center point is the coldest is because that's where all of the different energies get pulled together at. And so it's freezing hot. That's why it will instant freeze. Okay, that's where the sub-zero comes from, right? So what you have is the freezing in the middle, right? And that's going to create areas, right? That will create bodies around it, but they're not all necessarily going to be connected because the energy that's pumping out the other end of it isn't being guided, it's just being let loose, right? It just gets let loose and becomes food, basically, for the entity. So it fuels it, right? Now, the further you get away from it, the more water you find. The reason that you're finding water is because the further away from the magnetism you go, the less it has a hold on it, so it has less ability to hold the structures. Right? So instead of becoming a completely solid form, it becomes a gelatinous form. Right? But because it's always trying to build and become more due to the magnetism, water dissolves everything. Right? It dissolves everything that doesn't hold the energy to contain itself anymore. You understand? That's because of the magnetism. So it's not even like, you get what I'm saying? So this is how shit really works. Right? Everything rolls back up. That's why you have all these different islands and they all kind of follow. Right? Hold on, wait, let me show you. Oh, no. Stay on here, go to here, go to here, go to here. Let me see something real quick. All right. I want you to see what. Sorry about that. Now, where's that map? Look. All right, look, right? If this map is legit, right? They're already showing it to you. It's just like I said, right? Where the energy meets at, right? This is this. It's the other side of it, okay? It's just like when you're looking at it from this way. It's the other side of it. It's not the fucking... like, it's blatantly right in front of you. It's the continuation of this fucking shape. Like, they're, But why do you think... Notice how everything's got this curve, right? That goes in and out. Right? Over here it starts to change. But it's still going this way. No, it's not changing. It's going like this. But everything follows a curve and builds more as it gets close to the point. It's magnetism. There's more building up underneath. It's coming. It's moving out. See, it just seems like the water's rising because the other parts raise up, which makes the water move away from it. it's pulling away from it as it's raising up, which is pushing it into other areas, which makes it appear as though it might be raising a little bit in certain areas. That's because the land is moving up, not the water's moving up. So everything is based off the principles. Literally everything is based off of the principles. But they don't give you all 9 of them. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of fear. Or maybe they feel like you need to work towards it or something like that. I don't fucking know. But all I know is that, by restricting people from the full scope, you're shaping what would be a more negative reality in the first place. So I don't understand why it would be restricted like that. But it is what it is. So I just thought we'd had this quick little conversation, some interesting stuff that I was thinking about. Oh, here, look, let me show you this. Let me show you something. Right? This is what I just stumbled on. Right? Well, I didn't stumble on it. I've been thinking about it for like a couple of weeks and shit. It just kept popping up, so I decided to put together an example, right? All right. So we're always arguing about these U.S. codes and things and what they really mean and shit. These are instructions for the corporation, okay? But this is the thing, right? So the proof that you need that the system runs off the Hermetic principles, right? Take, for instance, all the codes are coded by this, right? Okay, so you have code 31, U.S. code 3123. You see the caduceus? You see the 2 snakes, the as above, so below snake, you get it? You see it? Below snake, you get it? You see it? Bloop. You get it? Okay? The treasurer, right? Payment of obligation and interest on the public debt, right? You have code number 3. What's 3? Vibration, right? Everything's moving, right? So code number 3 is what? That would be action. Command. Okay. All right. Okay, so it's the creation of something. 1 is the action. Sorry, I should have wrote it like that. Okay. 3 is man. Okay, we'll keep it like that. 3 is man. Okay. Now, 1 is action. Why is 3 man? Because man is the vibration. Right? 1 is the thought. Man. Thought. All right. So the payment of obligation and interest on the public debt. Right? Because when you put 3 and 1 together, you get what? 4, right? Polarity. Right? The result. Right? What's this code about? Payment of obligation and interest on the public debt. Right? So you have man with an idea that's creating, right? Because 2 is what? The correspondence, right? Bringing in the action for the man. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is the completion, like I told you. All right, the creation of it itself. Okay? Because 8 is the creator, so that's the will. Right? So 9 is the creation. Right? So all these equal up to 9. Right? This equals up to 4, which was what? The polarity. Right? What is that? That's the result that you're looking for. Right? So that's agent to principle, principle to agent. Right? And that works with all of it. Everything is built off of it. So if you learn emotions and understand how people think and what people fucking do, like, you know, it's pretty easy to utilize things from the standpoint of the infinite. See, that's why they don't put it on the table. Right? Because the infinite, you can create everything. Right? Because this is all law. Or Allah. Or the arm, leg. You get what I'm saying? I have to write it out for you. Right? That's why when a bunch of you get together, right, they taught you that there are sever all of you. You better pay attention to where they put that word all. Oh, there's several. What did you just say? Sever all? You get what I'm saying? Like you really got to start digging into these things, right? What's all? A is 1, right? What's L? 1 1. What's L? 1 1. There's a lot of interesting things going on. I get you. Right. You got the A. All right, look. You got the A. You get me? It's just little stuff. And how you represent it. And if you can see what they're getting at, I know it seems a little bit crazy, but man, y'all got to, it's funny because, you know, I see things like little patterns and things that I start to recognize, and it's like people think that I'm crazy for it, but it's when you look at it, right? What do they tell you? Is it all goes back to what? The hieroglyphs, what they call hieroglyphs, right? Right? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. So like when I see letters, like I just, you know, try to see the picture that they're trying to paint. I know that might seem strange to some people, but that's what spelling is. That's literally what spelling is. It's frequency. You're creating frequencies. Look. That's frequency. And you're writing it out, so you're giving it a physical form in the physical world. Like you understand me? Like these are sigils and things that you're utilizing and creating and not even really paying attention to it. That's why, all right. So I seen this video that this kid went and looked up the definition of future, right? And the definition of future is what you speak and what you write, right? And the definition of present was what you think. All right, it was what you think before you speak or write. Right, so you think in the present and you speak and write in the future. Right, so the present is the past. Right, just by definition of the word alone, right? It's in the second definitions of the definitions, right? So what you speak and write is the future, and what you think is the present. And that makes perfect sense. Because speaking and writing are actions that happen to reactions of what you've already decided. Right, simple mathematics. 1 + 2 = 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, it just falls in a line. So realize, you know, when you're writing things, what you're actually doing is, you know, you're creating. That's why, okay, now look. So people always ask me what the significance of learning all of these things are, right? It's the things that you're able to, the reason that everything was done in pictures, right, instead of writing, is because what did I just show you? The way that they have you writing things is actually creating wavelengths when you're doing it. You understand? That doesn't happen when you're doing pictures of things, right? The pictures will give you the words. It'll create the frequency. You'll be able to comprehend it. But you have to understand the pictures. You have to be able to recognize the patterns and the things that are being portrayed and the things that are tied to them, right? So you have to study nature in order to understand the pictures. And if you study nature, then you're studying yourself, right? And so if you connect yourself to nature through the pictures, you'll have a better knowledge of self, because then you'll see yourself, right? You'll reflect in nature everything that's tied to you, right? And so you'll be growing your own realities at some point on purpose rather than by accident like you currently do, right? Because currently, right, you're weighing in on the current, right? Right? Now, the weight of that current depends on whether the tree is able to get what it needs to grow the type of things that you're looking for in result. But this is why it's so important that your results reflect the ones that you want for the things that you're after, because it's the creation of how it all is coming together off of what you are thinking. Right? That's your brain. That's his face right here. Okay. Here's the body right here. All right. Okay. That's him curled up right there. That's him. Okay. Bowing to the river. That's your river. Right? The conductor of the river is a cerebellum. Okay? This is the thing that decides all of the emotional responses to everything that you do. It goes through this first. Okay? After this, everything's sped up and wound up to the frequency it needs to go to the thing that it's supposed to go to in order for the amygdala to tell the basal ganglia to carry it down river. Right? That's the fisherman. That's the man on the moon. Right? This is your man in the moon. Sits right in here. This is the moon. That's that crescent moon that you're always seeing. You see it? That's what these symbols are. That's why he's sitting on the edge fishing and might have like a cloud or a dream they tell you is on the hook. Right? Right? He's a fisherman. Right? Look. Look, right? Let me show you something. Maybe I need to make that line a little thicker so you can see it. See it. Hold on. That's your fish. That's your fish. This is your rod, which is also your anchor, which is also your spear. This is the water that the fish lives in. Okay? The fish. This is the stream, which is why you see old boy with that big ass fish coming down his back. All right, got his little fish hat, with the big ass fish coming down his back, representing the flow of things. You know what I mean? Look, right? Oh, here we go with the puzzles and stuff. You guys gotta tap the screen and press share live and stuff. They're on my heels for some reason. Alright, so look, right? In life, there's things that you bow to. Alright? The things that you submit to. right? They tell you in the Bible, right, to test the what? The fruit of the tree, right? And test the fruit of the tree. See, a tree that bears good fruit can't bear poisonous fruit. A tree that bears poisonous fruit can't bear good fruit. Right? That's what they tell you. But that all depends on what you give into. You get me? You see, it's what you bow to and what you stand on, right? What's the foundation? The things that build you up and bring you down. Right? See, the tree's building up. Right? It's growing. You see the new buds, you see the old ones, right? You see how these are new branches that are coming off of it, right? So the things that you give into are the things that dictate the type of results that you're going to produce. Right? These are all the people that you run into. Right? See, these are all the people that they're going to run into. Understand? And the people that they run into are going to create their own trees. Right? They got their own current to drink from. Right? Their own current to dig for. You understand? So the things that you produce, right, dictate the type of results you're going to get as far as what's given back. You get me? You have to learn that there's nothing that you can do about the water. Right? The water's always going to be there. Right? You don't control that. But what you do control is the type of pressures that you apply to it. Right? If you apply too much, you could fall in and drown. Right? That's when you're drowning in your thoughts. Right? This is the brain, in case you didn't know. See? This section right here is the fruits. Right? Oh, man. Oh, there we go. All right. Now look, right? So normally it would be like that, but you see how these branches are coming off? See how these ones are branched out? Get it? They're branching out. Now you understand. Do you understand how much of this language you guys speak every day, but you don't realize you're talking in pictures the whole time? You're tall king. Tall king. Okay? You're tall king in pictures. You are tall king in pictures all the time. Okay? But bing bing. All right, here's your okay. Now there's multiple layers of them. Why is there multiple layers of them? Right? You have outside, right? You have the outer. You have the inner layers. Okay? On the inner layers, you'll find, right, this right here with these little notches coming out of it. Right? That's this right here, which is this right here. basal ganglia, right? Now, this is responsible, right? They tell you hours or Horus, right? Or Rush, right? They tell you that Horus takes them, he carries the messages from the heavens to the earth and the underworld. Right? You know, heaven, you know, the clouds, the garden, the okay, all that shit, the fruit. Right? This is where all these things come from. And there's a lot more here in the Americas. They just don't allow us to see the temples. Like they don't allow people to know what's in the pyramids here and shit. They don't even want you knowing that they're here. they're like, no, because then they'll really start like, cause, you know, if I can get my hands on that shit, oh man, it's over with. Right? Yeah, of course they were. Bro, where do you think all that anime stuff comes from? Right? Goku is love-fueled and uses that to create energy that turns him different colors, right? He went from yellow to, right, the red ape, then to, from that he goes to back to gold, but then it goes to red, then it goes to blue, then it goes to gray, then it goes to black. All of that is about this. It's all, that's all they put out. That's what it's all based off of. Why do you think he meets up with a cat? All right, think about it. You got the servant and the cat. Which one was it? Where's Daniel? Where's the book of Daniel at? Where is he? See, that's Daniel right there. Right there is Daniel. Okay. Oh, here we go. We'll go with this one. Okay. Look, right? This is Daniel and the lion, right? Subduing the lions, right? Remember that Bible scripture, right? Daniel subduing the lions, right? The lion's den and all that stuff, right? This is the lions, right? This is the den's axis, which is the top of the vertebrae, where you have the guy that's sitting here. Right. Sometimes people can't see him, so let me show him to you. Right. That's his head. Okay. Come down to the shoulders. Just come out to the arms. Okay. Those are his hands. All right. Take down another vertebrae and look. Oh, look at that. You got his legs and his feet. That's Daniel in the lion's den. You get me? That's Daniel. Okay? The paws of the lion represent the kidneys. Your kidneys have these, all kidneys have the same fucking shape. Okay? It's the paws of the lion. Look. Where's that kidney thing at? See, look. This is your atlas. What's the world called? The world is called your atlas, right? That's your world, right? And your world is on what? An axis, right? They tell you that your world's on an axis, right? Right? Right or wrong? Look. That's the lion's mane right there. And then you got the two lions that are in here. It's also the heart. Right? You see the mane of the lion? See the lion's head, right? And then the body of it with the paws coming off of it. Right? And then the lower body, right? Look, you notice how the lower body, you see both legs, one goes to the left stream and one goes to the right. Look. I know there's more on here. Hold on a second. Where's that kidney piece? Bloop. Look. See the lion's paw? The kidney is the thing that controls your hormones. That's your adrenal gland. Right there. The heart and the kidneys. So this is subduing your emotions and learning to control and regulate your emotions. Right? You know it's about learning to do something. Because look, there's a current here, isn't there? That's leading to it. You see the flow? See the river? Right? And it's leading to what? The hand. Right? Where's the hand? On the left side, right? That's your left hand. Because your left hand is what? That's where your artery goes that goes to your heart. Right? So he's holding it in the left. Right? It's also up on the left because of the fact that down on the left is the way that your pulmonary goes, right? That would be the one that sits behind here that this sits on top of. Okay, that's the one that goes down. Not going to be on that side so much, but it will come out like this, okay? Right, so that goes down on the left, right? And then it returns. Notice the lion's fur. The lion's fur is the course of it going back up. Then it gets regulated by the heart. It's the head. So this is getting a hold of your emotions, right? Now, what happens? Like, so think about it, right? Why is the lion's mane the lungs? What happens when you get upset about things? Don't you get short of breath? Right? And you see how the area in the stomach starts to become a little more wavy than the initial waves that are coming in, right? Why is that? Because your stomach, right? You lose your appetite. Right? Because the energy gets fucked up whenever your lion's out of control. You understand? All of these things are affected, right? The flow of the energies and all that. is controlled by the lion. Right? So he's controlling it. That's what Daniel was doing. When Daniel went to the lion's den, he had what? 7 lions. The 7th line. 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 Okay? The line and the den. Right? Like, bro, they tell you that your body they tell you that your body is the world. You just have to look at the names of the things in your body. What's above the world and the world's axis? Right? What's above the world and the world's axis? Wouldn't that be the hemisphere? Where the gray clouds are? Isn't your brain made out of gray matter? Do you get what I'm saying to you? Like, you can't read the Bible by current words. You have to read it with the mind of who wrote it. They don't think the same way. You cannot read this book with the mind of somebody in the 2000s. You will never comprehend any of these things with the current day mind, because the current day mind is not the same. These are the animals that crawl the earth. Because the reflection of that old system is still present. All you have to do is start looking at these so-called artifacts and statues and things like that and compare them to Bible references, and you'll start to see where they all came from. You don't have to take people's word that it was copied. You don't have to take people's word that it was a created story. You don't have to take people's word for it. You can see it for yourself. You can see it because you're the fish. You get me? You can see it. You're the fish. That's you. This has nothing to do with some deity that drops out of a spaceship. That's you. This is the spaceship. Like, yo, Jay, look, man. Look. There's a lot of things that are in your anime that are very real things. They're based off of very real things. Those animes get based off of traditional stories. The same traditional stories that I'm explaining to you now, which is why the same things that they explain in there will make more sense if you understand these things from the perspective of the symbolism that they're putting into all of it in the first place. That's why I'm discussing the same thing with you from the symbols that they're discussing to you with the symbols that are representing them currently without me having to watch them. Now, don't get it twisted. I love my Dragon Ball Z, right? I love my Naruto. I love my Titans. There's a lot of anime that I love. Dr. Stone is a really good one. You should check that out. It's a newer one. But anyway, look. Thing is that, you know, once you begin to understand all of these symbols, right? Once you get to the point, my bad, of being able to recognize the symbols and the patterns and the sigils and things that are being used in front of you on a regular basis, you'll begin to see different messages in the same things that they're giving, because they're giving them on purpose. You understand? There's reasons why the characters look the way that they look. Every character plays specific characteristics which are reflected by any animal that they represent. You'll notice that once you understand what the symbols are and what they mean, right? Otherwise, you're going to see things like demons and stuff. All right, you'll get the public view. Public view was given a specific way because of the fact that people needed it, that were getting it. They needed it like that in order to embrace it. Not necessarily, but that's what was felt. You know, people felt that was a necessary thing, right? So they create images and things and don't tell you about symbolism and then throw it out there and tell you something, what it is and what it isn't, when it doesn't. The things that they tell you are outrageously outlandish. Make absolutely no sense. If somebody, hey, let me ask you something, right? If somebody today came to you and told you that a goat came and told them to do something, you'd try to have them institutionalized, right? Right? If somebody came to you and told you, somebody walked up to you right now and told you that a snake was talking to him, you'd call the fuck police. You'd be, hey, come get this motherfucker, yeah? Something wrong with him. Right? Somebody told you that right now, you would lose your fucking shit, right? But yet, they give you a book that's full of interesting stories like this, but you just buy that shit, hook and sinker. You don't think that there's more to it than that? You don't think that there's something to those animals and the stories that are behind them? You don't think that they might represent real things? That's you. This is you. This is you internally on the fucking pedestal. This isn't some deity. This isn't some Baal. This isn't some fucking goat. This isn't some fucking some mystical creature. This is you. This is you in ancient symbolism. That's what it is. Right? It's something that'll speak volumes throughout generations if you know how to read it. Because it teaches a process. Okay? Look. Y'all want to deify these things, not even realizing what these things represent. This is why they say you deify yourself when you believe in these things. Like, what do you see? What do you see? I see a medical diagram on different levels of the inner workings of how things operate in my system. What do you see? Maybe somebody told you to look at this like it was some evil thing. They tell you that you have to worship yourself in order to be able to worship this thing, right? That you basically deify yourself and da-da-da-da-da. It's, you are, whether it's this one or the next one. This is the same thing as the other one. There's no difference. They're the same. They're like, oh, they're going to make some that are going to mirror it in order to deceive people. No, you're the deceiver because you're telling people that they're not the same thing, when it's literally the same message, just in the ancient form versus the more current one. This is how things were done back in the day. They were done through symbolism so that people would be able to see themselves in nature and consider them certain things. I mean, even they tell you that he was an angel, right? Wasn't he an angel? Right? Do you know what an angel is? Because it's not even angel, it's angle. A-N-G-L-E. They're just swapping shit around. They're just, they're just playing. playing games. Like it's very immature. It's very immature, the things that they have done, the very simplistic things that they have done that people overlook, that refuse to accept the truth, right? It's not even that difficult, right? Angels are angles. That's why there's different angles for different archetypes. Archetypes, an arc. What is an arc? Arc is energy. What is type? Something that you've written, right? What did we say about the future? The future is what you speak and what you write by definition, right? So if it's an archetype, that's the light that you chose. It's the one that you wrote down. It's the thing that you what you say is important when you're dealing with spells. Everything is spells. The future is created with spells. This is why you must control the mind and the heart so that they operate within unison rather than opposing forces. These are not opposing forces. You see the same exact thing. Here, I'll prove it to you. Hold on. Share this. Procreate. Pink. Look. Look. Right? It's receiving on the left. Okay? You have the spear. In fact, that line's too thick. Hold on. Let me shrink that down a little bit, right? See how the left side, right? On the left side, that would be going in. It's receiving that way, okay? Because it's being taken into structure, right? If you notice on the left side, you have what? The right angle. Okay? Same here. Okay, notice how it's done perfect. It's done perfectly, okay? These things are done very, very, very specifically, okay? So you're receiving the right angle, okay? That's why he gets stabbed, because blood, what? Trickles down, right? See how this guy down here has got his hand out to catch it? As he passes it down on the left side, notice how everything's going down on the left? Shoot, shoot. See how it goes down to the left, to the back? Same way as it's received, right? And it goes down and is on the back. And it stays to the left, right? To the left, okay? Same way as this. See this right here? Look, see how the one on the left stays on the back side as it goes down? See how it stays on the back side? All right. Okay. It's going down on the left. Now, right? Now everybody from the church will be like, oh, it's the Caduceus. That's evil. You sure about that? You see it? That's it right there. You notice how, all right, look, these are the feet. You see? And then what do you have? Notice how the one that's on the right, the one that stays on the top right, you see how that one goes up like that? Notice how this leg crosses, kind of like this dude reaching over. Right, now you have to take in the principles, right? Male versus female, right? Physical versus emotional, right? So on the left side, you have a receiver, right? Notice how she's the one in the bed, right? She's receiving, right? She's receiving something physical, right? It's not bumping uglies. But I also want you to notice something, right? You see this right here? That's the structure of cells. Okay, now if you look over here, right, if you notice the leg hairs all point down this way. All the leg hairs are created to go down this way, showing you the flow that's taking place. You see, it pours over the edge and everything goes like this, right, creating a downward flow. Whereas on the other side, if you look, it's pointing upward. All of the hair on this side goes up. Okay? You see that? Okay? Notice how the boy, right, the physical, right, what's been produced, right, goes up to the right to the heart. Right? On the right side, up, and from the heart, right? But if you notice over here, right? So you see this guy that was putting that dirty, see how he's got all the scruff? Notice how over here it's cleaned up, right? There's no scruff over here anymore. He's clean. Right? Now, he becomes the foundation. Right? See, that foundation is then carried. Right? You see the word, see the book, and given. Right? Now, this, the jug, and the scrubber, right? Because it's cleansing the heart. Right? Which is what? Igniting the mind. Right? Now you might not see this, right? But if you look, right? And let's see something here. Let's see if we can see close enough. One, two, three, four. Notice how it splits here. Right? And it goes down to the 2. And then this one also goes down to the 2. But there's something different here, right? Look, I want you to notice something, right? This side is connected, right? And it gets split into it and creates the flow. Okay? That's the parts of the brain, right? Those are your frontal, your occipital, the limbic, the perennial, and then your cerebellum. The limbic, right? Frontal, limbic, perennial, occipital. Sorry, that's the one I forgot. Right? So now this is the thing, right? Is that the eyes, first off, this is a fallacy, right? This should be one eye. Right? Notice how everybody else, right, except for these guys up here, right? These ones up here have 2 eyes. Why do you think that would be? Because it's the weighing of both, right? The left and the right, okay? Each one has two options as to how it's going to respond, right? Notice it's female and male, right? Logic versus emotion. Your emotion will elicit different responses. Your logic will elicit different responses, okay? Now, the 5 parts are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are your 5 lobes. Okay? They got you looking at things all crazy, right? And it gets split right up the middle for the 2 sides, right? And the fire that ignites from uniting them, right? That's why you have the female and the male here, right? Same thing here. Literally, all of it, the exact same shit, without miss. It's the same exact message, it's the same exact image, it's the same exact, it's just portrayed in different ways. This is a more modern way. This is a reflection of ancient symbolism. That's the only difference. So one looks intimidating and one looks, I don't know how the fuck you don't find that intimidating, but one is deemed as evil and fucked up, and another one isn't somehow. One actually shows a sacrifice, where one just shows some kids hanging around with some animal. One died for you? No, he didn't. That is not what it says in the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that. No, it didn't. That's not how that works. You're supposed to repent, not lean on. You're supposed to do that on your own. You're not paying attention. You're just listening to a preacher or something. You're ignoring the things that you're being instructed about. That's why at the supposed resurrection, he was pissed off at everybody that claimed to have followed him. Why at the supposed resurrection, he was pissed off at everybody that claimed to have followed him. Hey, my bad about that. My bad. I had a very important phone call come in I had to take. I apologize. I thought I typed it into the chat that I was on the phone call, but I guess nobody's seen the comment. But okay, so this is the thing, is that, nowhere, like, the reason that Jesus flipped out on all of his followers when the supposed resurrection took place was because the whole thing was you weren't supposed to follow him in the first place. You were supposed to follow the instructions. You're supposed to follow the example. You're supposed to follow everything except for him, right? It was a test. It was a test for the world, because it was a test to see if you had a false prophet that went around completing things that were considered to be miracles, which is what? Answering wishes, which made people follow them more than the Creator, right? No, Jesus isn't the consciousness that you can reach. Christ is. And in English, it would be Christ Jesus, not Jesus Christ, because Christ is the title. Jesus isn't the level that you reach. Christ is. You're supposed to follow the examples, not follow him. It's not for him to do everything for you. It's for you to learn to do things for yourself, because you have to learn to trust in the Creator. Right? See, it's about your trust in the Creator, right? You're not supposed to follow somebody that tells you, "Oh, I'm from the Creator, so you should follow me." No, that's not how that works. That's the deception. I keep telling people the greatest trick about the devil was teaching you that the devil existed, because that was a separate that was creating an archetype that didn't exist, because it was one and the same the whole time. Because these are angles of light. Okay? It have nothing to do with physical creatures. You're not a Capricorn guy. You were born during the time of Capricorn. That doesn't make you a Capricorn. There's like 9 other fucking months that's in your genetic makeup. How are you going to be restricted to just one? See how they got y'all, running in circles? You see how restricted you just boxed yourself in. You just put yourself in the matrix. You just put yourself in that box, bro. You gotta watch out. That box is fucking, that box, when you box yourself in like that, that's mighty restricting, right? You just cut yourself off from everything else. Don't let them convince you to fucking talk yourself into seclusion. You ever notice how you only end up around certain people because you believe that you were that certain thing, and so that you recognize that all of a sudden you only run into certain people that it says that you're supposed to interact with, and now all of a sudden you've just changed the entire fucking focus of how your reality works. There's proof of the things. It's not even difficult if you just pay attention. Right? You got to pay Aten's sun. You got to pay attention. You got to see the light. You have to see it. You're the fish. Right? Wasn't he represented by the fish? Don't they tell you that this guy was also, they also tell you that the guy that represents the fish is demonic and see the craziness? They tell you that Dagon's demonic, but yet you represent Christ with a fish. You get me? So, it's literally the same thing. Right, it's literally the same thing. And for people that, think that this is demonic, it's right there. You get me? So, you can't pick one without the other, because they're all intertwined. There's no way for you to change that. But if you talk to somebody from the church, this is evil and the Ankh is evil too. Right? No education into the stuff. Right? It's just going off of what you were taught. Well, what you were taught doesn't mean that it's the truth and doesn't make it correct. You can choose to see it as evil and miss the whole entire point of the picture. Right? You can make it out to be that way. You can accept that as your reality, and you can live in a world where you're ruled by demons and monsters. Right? You can be ruled by demons and angels. Right? Or you can see how they both reflect you. You have moments in life when you're a demon. You're telling me that you don't have no dirty thoughts? You're just kind and You just have never. You never have fucked up thoughts and fucked up actions. You're perfect. Yeah, fuck. You can not have fucked up actions and have plenty of fucked up thoughts. Oh, I didn't act on it. I just thought it. Oh, why'd you think about punching him in the face in the first place? Who taught you that? Who taught you to say that thing that you said? Who taught you to... Why do you even have these thoughts in you? Right? Why? Because you don't recognize... Right? You don't recognize the ones that poke at you. The ones that beg of you. Right? You don't recognize the ones that look up to you. Or the ones that try to help you out. Right? The ones that think about you all the time. Hmm. No, that's not a Johnson, okay? It's a tongue and a mouth. Because this is the top beak right here. See, it's screaming at you. See the owl? All right, the wisdom, the flow of the energy. All right, you see what they're really showing you? There's a lot more to this stuff that people fucking look at, huh? Look, let me show you. Let me teach y'all about this stuff, because maybe you heard too much from a church, right? Maybe you've heard too much from a church, so you don't know that it's the father and the mother that are always watching over you, that you're supposed to honor, right? It's not the father and the son and the father. It's the father and the mother that watch over you, right? It's the people that are around you, right? Some people are always going to, rub you the wrong way. They might poke at you, right? Right. Some of them, if you notice, right, some of them aren't even going to be happy about your existence, right? The people that are in front of you are always going to be looking back at you. Right? Because it takes a community. Right? Some are going to be cross with you. Right? Some will be straightforward. Right? Some of them are going to try to hurt you, and some of them are going to try to take from you. Right? Whether you look down on them for it, or whether you think that you're above them, doesn't change the fact that they're going to be affected just by being in your presence in the first place. Right? So you have to consider these things. If you have a hard time realizing, you should think as to whether you would do that or say that in front of your mother and father. Right? Because it's their guidance that puts you in the seat in the first place, right? Because, it's the people that are behind you are the ones that are always trying to bring you up, right? They're always trying to help you see the way and try to cleanse your shit, right? It's the ones that are always offering you, right? They offer you knowledge, because knowledge, right? The action of being able to fish is a lot better than having somebody hand you a fish, right? So, you have people that give you wisdom. You have people that try to make it so that your life can be better, right? And they do that at the sacrifice of their own. He could be drinking from this cup. He could be washing himself, but he's washing you instead. People will give you the shirts off their back if they feel it necessary, right? But the question is how are you treating the ones that are coming to you in the first place? Do you treat them like they're all connected and let the fact that you're connected to them be the foundation of the person that you choose to present yourself to be? Right? Right? Are you decent with how you conduct yourself? Are you raw and exposed? Right? Are you open and embracing? Or do you feel like you're carrying the weight of their problems with you everywhere that you go? Maybe you are, but that's your choice to be carried with them. And the thing is when you carry their problems with you, are you giving them a solution that will make it so that they will want to come back from the things that you did to be in the front, so that instead of, oh, my pin. All right, you got to think about this shit. All right? What's your perspective, right? Because look, right, if you notice, right, this is connected here, and this is connected here. Right? Notice how you got the little swirl, right, for them coming together. Right? That's internal. Right? Now you see them coming together externally. That's the belt. The belt covers what you deem to be inappropriate parts. So this is your decency that keeps you covered. All right, you're supposed to be decent to the people around you, so that they'll be decent in return. But yet, for some reason, they just tell you, oh, this is a man on a cross, and you shouldn't look at these things because this is demonic. Right? Don't look at it. It's idol worship. No, it's not. It's only idol worship when you don't know how to read it. Same thing that's going on over here. Oh man, look. Look. Notice how there's one that's looking up to him. Right? Now this one's looking up, but he's also carrying something with him. Right? Right? So this is uplifting. Right? This one is receiving. Giving, receiving. Feminine is receival, transference. Masculine is physical, it's giving, building, creating. Giving, receiving. Right? Right? Look at the bird wings in the back. Think about this for a minute. Right? These could be bat wings, but they're bird wings specifically. Feathers represent what? Actions, right? A feather is an action. Why is a feather an action? Why do feathers represent actions? That's energy in motion, right? Birds fly, right? So their feathers are what keep them in motion. Right? Where'd they even get the word feather from? Look, check this out. feet, her. Heru. That's where the word feather even came from, because it represents the action of transporting something. Birds fly on what you see as nothing. Right? Your thoughts fly on what you see as nothing. Actions are taken from that. Feathers represent action. Physical. Motion. Transference. Carrying. Suspending. Dropping. Picking up. Actions. Right? See, she's being uplifted by the mind. Okay? That's the energy that's being created by the mind, but is traveling down. Right? Look, this is your hey, look. Hey, look. You see the ram? Notice how even in the regular diagram, it's present. Just any random medical diagram will have that in it. Okay, the 5 parts represent the 5 parts of the brain. Okay, the reason that it's upside down and inside of the circle is because it's in and vertical. It's inverted. Okay, so you're looking at the inside of it from a vertical position. It's been opened up like a can. Inverted, right? That's why the horns go inside and they're aimed up vertically. Right? The horns would normally curve forward and down. Right? That's why they look like that. Okay? Because that's your pineal gland right there. The pineal gland is right here, which is right here, which is more towards the back of the head. I don't know why everybody thinks it's on your fucking forehead, but it's not. It's in the back of your brain, right above your cerebellum. You know, these two right here, which is this part right here. But that's not where we're getting at. So let's go back to this here. All right, look, right. Oh, of course, this one's reversed. Okay, so the pulmonary sits behind. I don't know, maybe this one was just showing you the pulmonary up front for some reason, right? But the pulmonary sits on the left side and goes down on the back side, right? But this one's in reverse for some reason, okay? Your ascending artery is the one that goes up and it stays on the right side, okay? Like this, right? Or I wonder, nah. All right, so the wings are the rib cage, bird chest. That's why I tell you got a bird chest. Okay, it's the muscles that wrap around your rib cage. Those are the wings. Okay, they look like feathers when you look at them in a medical diagram. All right, so That's your heart being opened up. Okay? Now, you have the receiving of the heart opening up versus the action that comes from the heart opening up. Okay? Which is when the heart and the mind come together, which is what creates the oils that release what's necessary to what you call ignite your pineal gland, right? It's not igniting it. I mean, technically it does spark, but that's because it's crystals, but that's vibrations, right? See, the thing that's so special about creating that energy in the pineal gland is that usually it's just receiving energy. Right? Typically, it's just receiving the energy, the ether, right? That's why the top of your head has that soft spot. That's why it's the last spot to fill in, because in your creation, right? In your creation, this is your point that directs how the rest of the body was put together. Yeah. Okay? You have to realize that, right? Because this is... That's sperm. Dickhead. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's sperm. All of that is sperm that's grown over time. The mind that comes from it is what directs the female's body out of what creates it. But that's what your brain and your spinal column is. That's that same worm that grew over time. That's the dragon. Right? And she helped create that, right? It was her womb that provided the energy that was necessary to put the basic parts together. Right? But this comes with its own charge. So, you just had a body put around it. He creates the seed. She creates the shell. Okay? Both have to play. I don't know what y'all be thinking. Everybody trying to argue who's more important than the other. One doesn't exist without the other. I don't want to hear that theory that there was a time when it was like that, because that's the whole reason why it had to be altered in the first place, because it wasn't working like that. Okay. Now, but this is the thing. So this is the spot where, right? This is where the information gets drawn from initially, right? So this is the last place to seal up, because this is the thing that's giving the instructions to have the rest of it created around it, right? This comes with the blueprint, the DNA. Okay, that's what brings it in. Okay, that has the other half of the design. It's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so this is the last spot to fill. That's why it's still hard for a while. I mean, it's still soft for a while when you're an infant. Because all this stuff already had all of its physical shit brought together. This is the last thing to complete, is your skull. So, your mind used to be a receiver through this part, right? As you grew older, that shuts down and your receiver becomes the ears, the eyes, the nose, the skin, and the mouth. You get me? Well, yeah, there's always going to be a semi-soft spot. It's always constantly receiving little tiny bits of energy, but it's not the same as when you turn it on, right? When you turn it on, it then becomes, it's not like everybody tries to tell people that it's an antenna, that it's a receiver. No, it was a receiver. Okay, it was a receiver. Now your heart is the receiver. That's what the receiver is now, as far as the regulation of the flow of the energies. It's the heart. That's what created this whole entire half of the fucking, that's what creates the rest of the body. It's the heart that drags the energy, right? It comes in through the brain and gets dragged down to the heart, and then the heart redistributes it. This is the magnetism that pulls all of this together. That's why your rib cage goes in towards it. That's why all of your bones and everything goes up towards it, except for this area right here. Right? This area also has its own point. You have 3 points. Okay? This area right here. That's why you have your exit points down here. This is the bottom part. Right? When this one distributes out to the bottom, it goes to this point. This point then either distributes it out or returns it back. You understand? So when you activate, right, when you do something like turn on the pineal gland to the point to where you're fueling it, it's now creating a new force, like a strong force, that now begins to shift the different fields. Right? That's why it expands, because now you're creating energy and putting energy into it yourself, which is meaning that it's actually cycling completely. Right? Now you're in sync. You get me? Once you're in sync, that's when you start to, get that frequency moving in an upward fashion. Right? Because now the things that are happening because of what? It's coming out of here, so it has to come back to here. Okay? Oh, well, it's like there's a billion ways to convey this, right? And all of them are things that you witness. Yeah, ultra instinct, exactly. That's the point where you've gotten to a point to where you're now controlling your environment. Right? You're now controlling your environment. You no longer are stuck on things like negatives and positives, right? These things don't equate, right? And the thing is that now that you recognize them, right, you're neither above or below them, because you're just witnessing them, right? Once you learn to become the witness, right, it then starts to structure a foundation, a strong one at that. Right? Now, that foundation is going to reflect in the world around you, right? So, that window that you're looking through is now a world that you're creating, right? Because that's going to mirror you as well. You get what I'm saying? This is your creation of the thing that you witness, becomes the result that you put out. So what you see in others is what you see in yourself. And so the way that you deal with others is how you should want them to deal with you, because that's the result that you're going to get. You might not get it from the person that you're dealing with in that moment, but it might come from the person that you're dealing with at home when you get to your safe spot. Right? How you conduct yourself and how you operate very much creates the reality that you partake in. And so it's very crucial that we learn to either control, accept, or welcome the things that the mind brings to us. Right? Just because your mind says something like, oh, punch that bitch in the face. Or slash his tires. Right? Just because the mind says that doesn't mean that that's something that necessarily you're going to do, right? You got to stop it. You got to stop looking at it like that. No, that's something that the mind experienced so that you didn't have to. And once you begin to appreciate these things that the mind presents to you so that you don't have to experience them, you'll then stop allowing the mind to be the thing that leads you where you're getting to when that's not the thing that's supposed to be. It follows your example. Right? But as long as you keep allowing the mind to control the way that you're viewing things, you're going to keep running into roadblocks. Because as far as your mind knows, you like those roadblocks. That's why you don't do things differently. Right? When you see people in the same situations or rough situations and you don't help them, well, you end up in those same situations to a degree of it, and there's nobody there to help you because you told the world that that's not how you operate. Okay. All right. Well. You get what I'm saying? Like, hey, what's up, Mac? What's up, man? Like, just because you're looking out the window doesn't mean that somebody else ain't looking at the window back at you. You got to remember these things, right? Even when you think nobody's watching. Nah, it's not karma. Karma's not the idea. All right, let me show you something. You can't have karma. That's a false idea. Okay, we're going to put that over here in the bad box. That's the bullshit box, okay? Okay, karma goes in the bullshit box. The reason that karma goes into the bullshit box, because in order for you to believe in karma, you have to believe that somebody else is about to have a consequence. But you don't know how they think, right? Because consequences are what you bring to you off of your beliefs, right? You're sitting there having this idea of karma on this person. The whole time that you're having that idea of karma of that person, they're just over there kicking it, doing their la-di-da shit, minding their business. Meanwhile, you're over here funked out, just fucking mad as fuck, pissed off, angry, carrying that around with you, right? And so you start reflecting that in the world around you, right? And then now you think everybody's just an asshole because you're going out there being all aggy over shit, right? Think about that for a minute, right? They don't feel bad. You sit there fucking mulling over that shit for days on end, weeks on end. Sometimes that shit puts you into depression. You gotta release the pressure because you want to cry about the shit, but I'm too strong. I don't need to cry. Okay, well, you don't let that fucking water out, you're gonna be drowning. You be drowning in your thoughts, don't you? All right, fish can drown in the water. Don't get it twisted. You can drown a fish in water. So this is the thing, right? Is, you don't realize it, but being taught to believe in something like karma is being taught to believe in the angel and the devil shit. It's the same thing. Right? By believing in karma, all you're doing is keeping yourself in the negative. Because you're sitting there having these negative thoughts about that person. Meanwhile, they're just going about their la-di-da shit. They're just chilling, relaxing. Meanwhile, you're reflecting that in your world with the people that you run into, the people that you talk to, the people that you associate. And here you are like a whole asshole going out here spreading that fucking dirty karma to other people. Oh, well, they did this to me, and so this is going to happen to them. I bet you this, and I wish this, and I think that. And you share that, right? You'll share that fucking negativity with people. Right? You'll try to build that reality for them by turning others against them and shit. But meanwhile, the whole time, I wonder if they think that the same thing about me. Ooh. Even your friends are starting to look at you funny now. They'll be like, man, you too negative. I can't hang around with you. Right now, those same thoughts that you were putting in their head about somebody else, they're thinking about you. Right? Think about that shit. So you sitting there thinking about karma and shit and fucking bad things happening to somebody. Meanwhile, the only person getting hurt is you, literally. Literally you, because you're breaking your own water that's in your body. You're breaking down your own ether and destroying it. You're being a destroyer. You're wrecking your own shit, though. It's not their world that's going to fall apart. It's yours. You're the one that goes through a week laying in bed, not eating anything, eating fucking, watching fucking pressing stuff and fucking boo-hooing and shit. Not them. They're out there riding jet skis and fucking hopping in helicopters and shit. And you're over there fucking wishing all these horrific things on them. Meanwhile, the only person that's going through anything is you. Karma. Yeah. You go ahead and buy into that karmic stuff. See, you keep forgetting anything negative that you think about for somebody else is actually going to reflect itself on you. 10 times. You know why it's 10 times? Because you put it into the universe, and then different people, you run into it all the time. The 10 times effect is real, right? Because you'll get attitude from like a gang of different fucking people over time. It'll just keep coming back to you. It'll just be in little circulations. One will be close to you. One will be a little further away. One will be a little further away. You get me? You're putting out a loop. You always have to think of things from magnetism. From a magnetic standpoint, everything is a loop. What kind of loop are you creating? Right? Everything's a loop. So it's very important that you realize what you're putting out in that loop. Because it might not come back to you in the way that you're expecting it. It might not come back to you in the way that you're expecting it. It might come back to you in the form of a complete fucking stranger. Might come in the form of your best friend. It might be your fucking dad. It might be your sister. It could be your cousin. It could be a dog coming down the street carrying something in its mouth for you. You never know. But what are you training the universe to give to you? Are you training it that you enjoy things that are shared amongst others, that build and fucking, or are you training it that you like to be separate from everything, that you're segregated, that you close yourself off and fucking don't want nobody near you and don't want to participate with nobody and shit? Are you training it to help others, or are you training it that everybody's on their own? How difficult do you need it to get before you realize that you need other people and actually embrace that wholly? Like, a lot of people say that they understand they need other people, but they don't embrace that wholly. You don't internalize that, you just say it. Learn to help others. It's healthy. Really, literally. It's really healthy for you. Get me? But I think that's going to be enough. I think I made this live too long. I got to download these things and try to upload them onto YouTube and stuff like that. But so freaking, we're gonna cut it short for the time being. But I'll be back later on, and we can talk about some more stuff. Get into some symbols and some understanding of things, and some new views for some of you new people. And I will catch y'all later.